Hey, and welcome back to the Fully Booked Photographer podcast. And we're back to the Fabulous 4. Last week we were on the Fabulous 3, but Brad is now with us. Hello, Brad.
Hello. Last week being 30 seconds ago.
Yes, we do record, we try and record 2 podcasts at a time. So it was 30 seconds ago. But Brad, when people are listening to it, they're a week apart.
I know, but I thought I'd just lift a little bit, give them some behind the scenes. Because it is last week, but it's also 30 seconds ago. It's a nice little bit of time travel that we do.
Oh, we talked about time travel. Nice tie-in, Brad.
He didn't even hear the podcast or was here for it, and he brings time travel in. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that, Janine?
I think we're all in sync. It's like we're like, woo, woo. Yeah.
Oh, we're definitely woo, 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 woo.
Oh, gosh. Okay, guys. So last week on the podcast, you heard us, the three amigos discuss, the importance of your 5-year vision for your business. And you guys got out your wide angle lens and we did a little exercise to envision our business in 5 years' time. So before you take off the wide angle lens off your camera and put it away in your bag, we need to do one more thing. So for those of you who have created that vision for your business, we have just one question for you. And we want you to write down the first number that comes into your head. Don't overthink this. So the life that you've envisioned for 5 years' time. So we went forward in our time machine to the 31st of December, 2029. I want you to write down a figure that your business needs to pay you. Yes, your business should pay you as the owner of the business. What your business needs to pay you for you to have that life. So just take 30 seconds and write it down. If you haven't listened to last week's podcast yet, just play the game and write down a number that for the life you believe you want to have in 31st December 2029, what do you need your business to pay you? Okay. So now that you've done that, you can now take your prime lens off your camera. This is really weird as a non-photographer explaining this stuff because I'll probably get it wrong, but just bear with me. I want you to get out your zoom lens and put it onto your camera. So Janine, just talk to us about why would I want to use a zoom lens? Like, what's this zoom lens all about?
Well, since you brought up the prime lens before, with the prime lens, you got a fixed distance, right? So, if I'm photographing you with a prime lens, you're there. And if I want to get closer to you, I physically would have to move, or I would physically have to move back, right? One way or the other. With a zoom lens, your lens does that, right? So you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can change how much of the subject is in the photograph or not just by using your lens to do so.
All right. And we call your zoom lens in this planning process as shaping your path to success. That you guys know, you define your own success. We discussed that so many times. But it's about on your journey to this 5-year vision. You're going to adjust your path. It's not going to go to plan. Brad, what's that famous quote? You talk about that famous general who talks about a plan.
Apologies then, Ronan. I forgot where the mute button was. So I believe the quote, it's not actually attributed to a famous general. It's a quote that a business mentor of mine has often said, and he's served in the RAF. I'm sure he's picked it up from somewhere. But no plan survives first contact with the enemy.
Right. And the enemy in this case is just getting started with your business, right? Because we never know what's around the corner. But it is still important to have the plan, because part of that planning process will be, well, what if this happens? What might I do? So your zoom lens, then you're going to adjust your path depending what happens, right? And as Janine said, this lens is very adaptable. So it allows you to shift with your changing aspirations that may change along the journey. And that you're constantly then realigning what you're doing within your planning with what you define as your changing markers of success, but still focused on that 5-year vision that we had with our wide angle lens. So that's what we're trying to do with our zoom lens. So I think it's time to start actioning our zoom lens. So pick up your camera with your zoom lens and look through it, right? And what I want you to do now is I want you to visualize what do you need to do in 2024 to achieve that 5-year vision. So you already have that 5-year vision, right? So what needs to happen next year? So let's start with, what do you want your business to pay you next year on your journey? Because you already know what you need to get to, right, in 5 years' time to have the life you love. So write down a number that you want to earn. Your business is going to pay you, yay, net of tax, right, next year. What is that number? Just write it down. Just write it down. And once we've got that number then, right, we can then start our business planning process, right, Janine? That we can start to say, so for my business to pay me that amount of money, what does it need to do in terms of its turnover? How many clients do I need to serve at my current average? And all those important things, right? Long answer from Janine. That's a really long answer from Janine. So, but Janine, this is important, right? So when we presented my 5-year vision, right, it wasn't just about business, right? There was other things in there. So, and you have your 5-year plan, Janine. So you have your 5-year plan. Part of your vision for 5 years is that you can take more time away from your business, still have a successful business, right? And be able to go on vacation with Erin, right? Or be at your holiday home in Las Vegas. So she wants to go to Las Vegas to see mom and spend some time there. So what have you identified that you need to do next year on your journey to that?
So I have 2 more hires I need for next year. And so one is I want to identify and bring in that studio manager and a phone person. So those 2 hires have to happen, and continuing to train the 2 photographers that I have hired already. So though that needs to get in place for next year. Priority number 1.
Okay, so in identifying that, right, so that you can have more time away from your business in 5 years' time, the reasons you already told us, you've identified that you need to take on extra people in your business, right?
Yeah.
To not only achieve the growth forecast you have for your business for next year. So how did you go about knowing that that's what you needed to do? You know, that you need to take on a phone person and you need to take on a studio manager. How did you come to that decision-making process for next year?
I listened to wise words from Ronan. That's what I did. Now, just sitting, the 4 of us chit-chatting a little bit, and you talking about replacing yourself. And actually, I don't think it was you. It was us talking about a book that we all read when they talk about replacing yourself one job at a time. Who was that?
Ooh, I can't remember.
It wasn't Donald Miller, was it? Where you replace each of your jobs one job at a time until you're left just running your business and doing the strategic part, the one thing you want left to do. God, no, I can't remember who it was.
I think Mike Michalowicz talks a bit about that in Clockwork.
It was one of our guys that we always read and listen to. And so I identified the things in my business that I could replace, right? Like I knew I could have photographers do the photography because my passion really is in the design of the sets. My passion is in the marketing and the, and the client journey. Those are my areas of passion. I love photography, but it's not why I wake up every morning, right? I wake up every morning because I want to do these things with my clients. So, I knew I could replace that. Then I was like, okay, but I'm still tied to the business every day because I'm the one who's managing everything. So I need someone that can do that. And I also need someone who can make the phone calls. Now, whether it's the same person or 2 different people, but I'm very much the believer in if someone else is doing it, I think you need a dedicated person to make phone calls because I've done this in the past where I've had that job spread amongst 2 things or somebody doing both things and they always just push the phone calls aside. So I'm a firm believer, and I will tell this until I will argue this one till the cows come home, that I think if you're going to have a role of phone person in your studio, it needs to be a dedicated role. So I obviously and per your wise advice. Other people should be trained in that, right? So that way, if your phone person is out for a week or sick or whatever, somebody else can make phone calls clearly, and a studio manager would be able to do that. So those are the two things that I need. So that way I can spend more time with you guys, spend more time. Next year, it's going to be college visits for Erin. So part of that way to the 5-year plan is I'm going to have to even next year travel with her to take her to visit colleges and universities and figure out where it is that she's going to go when she graduates. So yeah, those are the two things that I now need.
All right. So how does that fit within? Like, how did you plan numerically for that? How did you set about, well, for these people, for you to earn what you're currently earning, the business must have to expand to be able to afford them?
Yes. Which is why the 2 photographers, not just 1. Right? So we need to be able to book more sessions in order to be able to do that. So that was, to me, first. I needed to get the 2 photographers up and running and trained, and the marketing to go. I mean, we have the marketing figured out and dialed in. We just run more ads if we want to book more sessions. So, that part's easy. And I have Brad and Jonathan that help me, get that dialed in all the time. So we run more ads, we book more sessions. So 2 photographers to do that. And so then I wanted to get that running and then fill in the rest, as far as I can do the other work. But now once I know my limitations, and you get to listen to me complain about this all the time. I'm not the best manager, right? That's where I've got to get better at now. So I knew there's no way I could hire all of this at the same time because I would fail miserably. I know this because that's my weakness, is management. And so that's where I am now studying, and now I am starting to read. And those are the podcasts I'm listening to on how to be a better team builder, manager, like that. So I've moved into a new aspect of my business, and that's some of the stuff that I'm trying to focus on. And so I didn't want to cause myself failure by taking on too much at once. So I took on the one thing first that I know I could do, which is train photographers. And then once they're up and running and now bringing in more business because the marketing is going to them booking sessions, I can bring in a studio manager and a booker. The phone call.
Ooh, that's going to be a great future podcast. The difference between a manager and a leader.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
right.
going to be a great future podcast. Yep. We're going to have to do that one.
Can I ask a quick question for Janine, mindset wise, when doing this, going through this process? Because I think when you're going through this whole process, like in the previous podcast when we were talking about the 5-year plan, now we're talking about the 1-year plan. You said that you hired 2 photographers, you're training 2 photographers to replace you from taking the photographs. And I mean, for most photographers, they're single person businesses, or maybe, 2 people businesses, husband and wife maybe, or whatever it might be. And they feel like, I guess some feel that it's challenging for them to let go of the photography aspect. So how challenging when you were coming up with your 1-year plan was it for you to say, no, it doesn't have to be my work. I can hire people to photograph and I can work on other critical tasks to grow the business. Was that a challenge for you mentally? Because I feel like it would be a challenge for a lot of photographers listening.
It's something that I've been slowly working towards over the past number of years, realizing that it doesn't necessarily need to be me behind the camera. And I knew that for the way I wanted to grow, it wouldn't be possible if I was behind the camera for everything. So I knew it was the only way to grow the way I wanted to grow and not have the business dependent upon me in the regards of being behind the camera. And again, my passion has always come from the set design and the marketing and telling the story. And once I realized that I could tell that story and show that story to someone else to tell, then I realized I could hire somebody else and train them in that story as well. And then train them in the style, right? So show them like the lighting and the setup. And it's something that I realized you could train. It doesn't have to be you to do that. And it's been interesting. And I don't want to derail where we're going with this. So I definitely is a topic of a good podcast, I think, talking about the things that I have now seen and how clients relate to the photographers that I've hired and how they almost now have switched their view. It's very interesting. Like they still know I'm the one in control and it's still my business and they still talk to me that way. And now the photographers are the worker bees in a way, and they create the art for their children and the storytelling for their children. And they view us all as a whole. And I think this was Mike Michalowicz's analogy of artists, right? Like Michelangelo didn't paint the whole Sistine Chapel. He had people help. he just, you know, and he did the parts that nobody else could do, which was painting the face, right? So like he painted the faces and he had his apprentices doing everything else, almost like a paint by numbers. So he sketched it all out. They filled it in paint by number. And it's the same concept, right? So what can only I do? And that to me is the set design. And then what can I have other people do for me and fill in the everything where I'm only filling in the faces type thing. And it also is the role of the director, right? So, or the conductor. And that is the other analogy that I would give photographers all the time, every day. And it really helped me. So like John Williams, which we all know and love, who, you know, wrote all of our favorite film scores, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, you know, Harry Potter, all of them, right? So, but he was also the conductor of the Boston Pops for years. My whole childhood, I remember watching him conduct the Boston Pops. And so his back is to the audience the whole time, right? So the conductor of an orchestra, back is to the audience. And the focus is on the musicians, and they're the ones playing. But at the very end, when the music is over, the conductor turns around and bows to the audience and basically takes the, I did all this. Right? So while they're enjoying the music, it's the musicians, but at the end, it's the conductor. And so to me, that's a photographer running a business, right? You're directing, you're orchestrating all of the moving parts, and you bow to your client at the end saying, I brought this all to you. Right? And so, but the focus is on all the different pieces. And so, and I started that journey back when I hired Rob to do all the retouching and the artwork. And my clients refer to him by name. Oh, Rob can do this. Oh, Rob can add that magic. Oh, Rob can make my album design look the way I wanted to. Oh, Rob can do this. In fact, I think I've given Rob too much power because sometimes now my clients think that he can do things that aren't actually necessarily possible without hours of work. But that was the first glimpse I had 10 years ago when I hired him, is that you can have other magic makers in your business and you direct it and your clients still feel that it's your artwork. Does that make sense? That was a really long answer. You should have stuck with my
Yeah, and I think that would be a great podcast. So coming back to the 1-year plan, Janine, I want you to think about the 31st of December, 2024. Are you thinking about it?
Yes.
And as you
Happy New Year.
Imagine yourself on the 31st of December, 2024. And you reflect on the previous year and you think about everything that you have done in 2024 to make your plan and your dreams come true for your business. What are the 3 key things that you did in 2024 that allowed you to take one step closer towards your 5-year vision?
You asked the tough questions, Jonathan, that I have to answer on the fly here. All right. So I think I already answered some of them, so I'll just reiterate them if you're going to give me 3. 1, I need to continue educating myself. And the areas that I know that I struggle, and we all have struggles, right? So I've identified where I struggle, and I need to educate myself and make myself stronger in those areas. Because now I have new challenges, not the same challenges that I've had in the past. So that's number 1. Number 2 is finding and hiring the right people. So if I don't find the right people, if I don't hire the right people and train the right people, then I won't be sipping my champagne on December 31st, 2024. And then number 3 for me is I still got to remember to have fun. And I get very stressed in my day, and sometimes I forget to have fun, and I get into this worker mode and management mode and just doer mode, and I do, and I've got to get out of that, and I got to remember to have fun. And for example, and to realize that I can find other people to do the things that I need them to do. And for example, you got at this point of recording, Sarah is sick, right? And so there's a whole list of things that need to happen before tomorrow, before we do our theme sets for Christmas this weekend. And she had the list of all of them to do. She had a long list of things to do. So this morning was all right, I guess I'm just going to have to do it all. Right. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it all. And Tim's why are you stop being an Olympian? Find other people to do it for you, and start delegating. But it's my natural instinct when somebody else can't do something just to pile it all onto my plate. And so I have to fight that a little bit. So I added a 4th one. So I need to have fun, and I need to be diligent about delegating.
There you go. Excellent. So, and Janine, you brought me back, and Brad, I know will definitely would have seen this program on TV on Netflix because I was absolutely fascinated by it. And I know I'm going to pronounce their names wrong, but it was the bankers of the Medicis. Is that right? The Medicis.
Oh, the Medicis. That was a great TV show.
Yeah. And I think they hired an artist. I think it was Da Vinci they hired, was it? Was it Da Vinci that they hired?
Donatello.
Yeah. Donatello. And there's one scene in it which just encapsulates some of what you talked about, Janine, where there's all these artists, right? And they've all the paintings out and they're all painting the bodies. So the other artists were painting the bodies of the people, but he was doing the faces. And I think it's a great analogy because that's what you've just talked about, right? In your business, you don't need to paint the whole portrait. You just need to be the conductor of the most important things in your business. And importance defined by not just what you're good at, but what you're passionate about.
Right.
Which is your set designing and your marketing. You know, that they're the two areas that you know are critical to get absolutely right for your business. And because you have a vision for what your business is about, that nearly only you can, that they're the closest jobs that relate to delivering on that vision. And everyone else in the business you can train to do other bits of it. So then you're going to have more fun because you're going to be spending more time doing what you love the most and not having to work on the stuff that you don't love the most. But I think there's also another important point when I heard you talk and Jonathan was questioning you there that jumped out at me, which was, you know, the definition of success. You've defined clearly what your success is, right? And that's your success and it's no one else's success but yours, right? But there are people who will just want to be a solopreneur or a duopreneur or a husband and wife team. And that's absolutely, if that's your success, that's all that's important too. But even when you are that solopreneur or duopreneur, it's hard to do everything. You have to make up your mind as to, you know, what are you passionate about? What do you love to do? And is there part of your business that you can outsource to somebody else? And I know in the last podcast, I don't know why we're mentioning Jennifer a lot, but like Jennifer was on this journey, right, Brad? Where she was, she got to a stage where she went, I've learned in the inner hive how to do my own marketing, right? But for me to get to the next step in my business, that's something I can outsource. And who better to outsource it to with the fully booked photographer team? So even though she's a solopreneur, she's outsourcing her marketing. Can you just talk a little bit about that, Brad? Because you and Jonathan have been involved in working with Jennifer on this, just about, you know, that it's okay to outsource some work once you've decided what you definitely want to do. And Jennifer realized that, do you know what? Somebody else can probably generate the leads better, and she's going to concentrate on what she's best at, which I know you'll talk to for us.
Yeah, so it's pointless. I say it's pointless. It's very, very difficult and fraught trying to up-level yourself in doing a job that you're not particularly good at to begin with and that you don't enjoy doing. In the early days, you kind of have to wear many hats. But eventually, when you can establish yourself to a point where you can take some pressure off, you can find the thing that you can add the most value to your business, focus on those high value income tasks, and then outsource the stuff that you may be not so good at or you don't like, or that might take you 10 hours a week, but can take somebody else one. And it's worthwhile to pay for that expertise. So that's essentially what Jennifer did. She hired ourselves, myself and Jonathan, I'm about to say manage her ad account, but that's exactly what we do. We manage Jennifer's ad account and we speak with her, and go through ad strategy and campaign strategy for her. And we do the heavy lifting. In fairness, you know, Jennifer does the heavy lifting and serving clients. We just do all the back end Facebook tech wizardry that myself and Jonathan have become so good at. And again, we've become good at it because we enjoy it, because we've been doing it for years. There he is pretending to cast a spell. Thank you. But yeah, it's important that when you get to a certain level in scale, that you start to look at outsourcing and looking at people who can do a job better than you. I suppose a big part of going from being a solopreneur into an entrepreneur to being a business owner is letting go a little bit of that ego and understanding that there's probably somebody that can do a job better than you, and just let them do it.
Yeah, great point, Brad. So, Johnson, if you were to share what your Zoom lens tells you for 2024, if you, Johnson, were at the 31st of December 2024, can you see yourself there now, Jonathan? So, Jonathan, now that you're at the 31st December 2024 and you're looking back at the three most important things that you achieved in 2024 to let you celebrate on the 31st of December that you've achieved what you set out to do in 2024, what would those three things be, Jonathan?
I love to see the practice in action. Good job. So, 2024, 31st, Zoom lens. I haven't shamefully fully thought about this in detail yet. However, one of my biggest passions, one of the things that gives me the biggest thrill, and often when it happens can cause me to shed a tear, is helping other people achieve their goals. It's one of the things that excites me the most. I love when I can not be a part of their success, but contribute towards it in a way where I've helped them get there. So I want to amplify that, take it to the next level, and I want to see as many photographers. Let's be brave. Let's say by this time, by 31st of December 2024, I want 1,000 photographers to have started their journey towards becoming difference makers and building the photography business of their dream. And realizing I want them to shift their mindset and realize that they are difference makers, that they do have an important role in society with the photographic artwork that they do create. And in order to do that, I have worked with the Fully Booked Photographer team and spoken on stage to a room full of hundreds of photographers at our Difference Maker Live conference, which doesn't exist yet, but it will. And I want to impact 1,000 photographers next year. I want to help them to shift their mindset and move towards their version of success.
So Brad, what about you? So it's the 31st of December 2024, Brad. And you're in a room with your family and Ruth and your closest friends. And right in front of you, Brad, is a glass of champagne. And Brad, you know that you have achieved so much in 2024 that you're going to raise that champagne and toast everybody there. Brad, can you see yourself walking towards that glass of champagne? Can you see yourself lifting that glass of champagne? You're going to make a short speech to thank everybody for being there to celebrate what you've achieved in 2024. And in that speech, Brad, you're just going to talk about 3 of your main achievements that has meant that you can raise this glass of champagne to that room of family and friends. Brad, what are those 3 things you're going to tell them about?
You know what, Ronan? I was thinking all throughout this podcast, and I suppose until you've done that right now, I might have actually a little bit of clarity to be able to answer that question properly. And Ronan's frozen for me, which is fantastic.
He's frozen for me too.
He's pouting.
He's frozen for me, Tree. That's amazing.
That's great.
Which is brilliant. That's wow. I've just looked down. I've been looking up, thinking. I've looked down, and to look into his eyes, and there he is, pouting. But anyway, you've given me a bit of clarity there. I suppose the first thing, and this is an odd thing, but independence. So I've already achieved financial independence, but I want to be able to double down on that so I can fully extract myself from my studio. I don't currently know what that looks like, but I not that I don't want to be a studio owner anymore. I don't want to. I want to be able to say yes to newer opportunities. So it's not that I'm closing the book, but it's just that I've been able to achieve that level of independence that I can successfully walk away from that.
All right.
I'm stealing Jonathan's as well. That I want to. Right now, I want to help photographers. I want to be on that stage at Difference Make Alive. I want to share that stage. That drives me and excites me more than operating my business in its current capacity. I don't want a block of flats. Been after a block of flats for years. I drive past them all the time and I look at them and I just long for them, and a car park. I want a car park and a block of flats. Or I'll have either. That's what I want.
All right. So isn't this process really interesting? Because both of you who haven't gone through the full process yet have talked about, even just talking about this has brought clarity. Even just bringing yourself to 1 year in the future, just over 1 year in the future, the 31st December 2024. And you have to, in Brad's case, make that speech, right? And show the appreciation and share with everybody who's been part of his journey to having a successful 2024 what he would be saying has just given clarity, right, Brad? Jonathan, you too.
So I have a question, because we're getting towards the end of the podcast, and one thing that's not clear for me, we talked about breaking down our big picture wide angle lens to our zoom lens, so our 1 year plan. But what the do we do next? How do we take that 1 year plan and actually implement and execute?
Well, that's a great question, Jonathan. And in the next podcast, we'll be getting our zoom lens out and we'll be zooming in even further, right? To take that 1 year vision that we have and break it down into, because we started with the elephant as a 5 year vision, right? And our 1 year vision maybe is the front two legs of the elephant, right? But that's still a lot to eat. So we're going to zoom in. We're going to zoom in next week on just the foot, and we're going to take it toe by toe. I'm presuming elephants have toes. We're going to take it toe by toe, and we're going to figure out how we're going to break it down even further to make sure that if we are consistent and continue on the path month after month after month, that we know we will achieve that vision we have for our success on the 31st of December 2024. So we'll all together be raising our glass of champagne or whatever's your tipple, going, yes, I've made it. I've made it for this year. And thank you to everybody for helping me get there.
And Ronan, do you know what's going to help people to raise that glass of champagne 31st December 2024 or whatever you're raising and say, yes, I achieved my goals?
It's called the Mifke.
I was like, oh, pick me. I know the answer.
Yes, the Mifke! One of my favorite things ever. Mifke! What is the Mifke? Mifke stands for Most Incredible Free Gift Ever. And we have our Mifke to give to you. So, our Mifke for you is that when you just say maybe, that's all you have to say is say maybe, and subscribe to a free 30-day trial of the AI-powered Fully Booked engine. When you do that, we are gifting you free lifetime access to the Fully Booked Challenge training that's going to show you how to attract your ideal client and fill all those gaps in your calendar. We're going to give you access to the Fully Booked Challenge community where you can network with other like-minded photographers and ask questions of the mentor team to get support. And we're giving you free lifetime access to our weekly call on a Monday where you can attend and get insights and help implementing the on-demand bookings system so you can fully book your calendar with high-paying clients all year round. So the MIFKI is going to help you to hit that 1 year goal, because part of that is marketing. And the MIFKI is all about fast-tracking your marketing success. So click the button below. Subscribe to the AI-powered Fully Booked engine free trial, which you're going to fall in love with. It's amazing. And we can't wait to see you inside the community and help you become fully booked with high-paying clients.
All right. So I think that's it from us, but there's just one thing left, right? That if you're getting value from this podcast, right, we want you to spread the word, because a rising tide lifts all boats, doesn't it? When the tide comes in, all the boats lift up. So the more photographers who journey on this difference maker journey that you guys are journeying on with us on this podcast, along with all of our Inner Hive members and all of our MIFKI followers, we want more and more people to understand what this difference maker revolution is about. Because once you become a difference maker, your consumer's not going to be ringing asking anymore what you charge for all the digitals, right? Because the more photographers who help raise this tide, right, all those silly questions will start to disappear. And you will finally get paid what you desire and deserve, because now you're doing a vital job. Now you're doing a vital job in your community. So please spread the word for us. Hit subscribe below, sign up to the MIFKI, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.
See you later.